Trump is flipping his shit. Haven't read any tweets, but you can't really get a good idea of what things are like going on really in the in his presence right now. But this is a CNN video. They have an insider in the Trump campaign or something, because they're knowing some things about how he's reacting to all the news from like the last 24 hours or so. Actually, even longer than that, as we'll see in this video here.
As all this news is coming in, most of it not seeming all that great for President Trump.
Reports on Trump's mood as Biden has
President Trump's thinking, who said that the president is down. Obviously
down.
tired, which is understandable, but not feeling all that great, despite the public bluster that we've seen and heard from his campaign.
Bluster's a good word for it.
That the president is seeing what's happening. He is seeing it that in some of these key states that will determine whether he is president or not, his lead is shrinking. Or if Joe Biden is ahead, notwithstanding what we just saw, this is before that just happened, it's just not looking that good for the president. And the sense from the source that I spoke to is that the president is starting to see this slip away. That's the mood of the president. Now, could that change like this with changes in the votes? Of course. But it also kind of.
But at the moment,
with some
he
reporting
sees it slipping away.
Our colleague Kevin Liptak, who
He
said
is
the president
losing
is calling to allies, saying that he doesn't understand the strategy that his campaign is using to kind of have these lawsuits in various states. Why didn't they try this more aggressively before the votes were counted? So there's some hand wringing going on behind the scenes, while there is some public bravado. It's quite.
And I don't blame him for being confused about his legal team's strategy, because it is a little confounding when you actually look at what is going on. We've been talking all night about the way in which the strategy is talking out of one side of their mouth in Arizona and in Nevada, and then out of another in Pennsylvania and Georgia and Michigan. So it is.
That's exactly what I've commented on. I think in my previous video, saying count them all in this state, but don't count them all in that other state. Don't do that.
Would be resolved before we got to this point, and much of it actually had been resolved and litigated in the courts, which is why you're seeing some of the legal challenges that they're putting out now are, as we've discussed, fairly thin. And so I'm not surprised to see that the president finds it to be a somewhat unconvincing case.
But do you think that his issue is that he's not finding their legal strategy now to
I'm gonna skip ahead. It gets a little more juicier later.
That he wants, or he doesn't understand why
he wants the ballots to perhaps not be counted. But I think he, as someone who, as you pointed out, is very litigious, he understands that these cases are not as rock solid as he.
That's exactly right. I think that he's just. It sounds to me like he is just voicing his frustration, and the one thing he can hang it on right now, because it's the way that they are being active in the Trump campaign, is by the lawsuits right now. And because he actually has
he's shown a history of when things are not going his
maybe
way.
not election law, but experience in the courts.
Bring up the lawyers. Bring up the lawyers.
The campaign is just kind of trying to find ways to publicly say, well, we don't believe this, we're going to challenge this, but it's not necessarily something that is really, he's not standing on firm ground.
He doesn't have experience winning in courts. He has experience with completely frivolous lawsuits. Well, let's table this for a second. I want to go to Caitlin Collins at the White House, who can give us some more insight into President Trump's frustrations about what's going on. Caitlin?
Well, it's so interesting to hear you guys talk about the legal strategy, because this legal strategy came about because after Fox News called Arizona for Joe Biden last night, something that we should note, CNN has not done yet. I am told by sources that's when the president went into this kind of panic mode with aides after thinking that he was going to win and pull this off, that he started instructing them to start filing these lawsuits and start pursuing litigation that we have seen play out all day. And so that is what campaign aides have really spent the day doing. And some have conceded, in part, Jake, and so they can buy themselves more time as they are waiting on votes in places like Arizona to come in. The other thing the president has spent the day doing, since we have not
just
seen
delaying the
him
inevitable.
today, the White House has called a lid, meaning we are not expecting any appearances from him, though we could hear from him, of course, on Twitter tonight, Jake is angrily calling Republican governors, these people who he believes are his allies, as he is trying to will what is happening and what we are seeing playing out from actually
Trump
happening. And that
angrily
includes
phoned
Doug
GOP
Ducey
governors
of
today.
Arizona, Brian Kemp of Georgia, and Ron DeSantis of Florida, I'm told by sources. He has been angrily calling them because he is not happy with what he's seeing. Of course, Florida is a different situation. I think that's more of a venting situation.
As if they have any control of what they can do about the votes in their states. They don't have any control. Trump doesn't seem to understand that. Just because you technically lead a state or a country doesn't mean you control everything in it. They're not dictators. These governors are not dictators. They cannot tell the people there to stop counting votes. This is him, once again, with his authoritarian tendencies, acting out, trying to badger these governors into doing what he wants them to do, into committing crimes, into doing illegal shit. That is, stop counting the ballots. Because he wants them to stop counting, because right now, they show him in the lead, but he knows as time goes on, as all these votes are counted, he could lose his lead. That's why he's flipping his shit over there. He's once again just, his first instinct is to break the law. His first instinct is to do whatever it takes, no matter how many crimes he has to commit to get what he wants. Unfucking believable. I know it's just speculation, but we've gotten to know Trump pretty well these last 4 years and his tendencies. He runs this shit like a business. Like he's the owner, and everything he says goes. That's not how it works. Whether you're governor or president, it doesn't work that way. Can't believe he still doesn't understand that after 4 years. This isn't just lashing out, because at this point, he's got nothing else to go. He's trying to cheat his way out as we speak, through lawyers, through phone calls, any way he can, because the people have voted, and he's recognizing they're voting against them. It's quite the narcissistic meltdown he's having, I'm sure.
Situation from what I've understood so far, but that is what the president has spent his day doing. So he is angrily calling these Republican governors, but casting doubt on the legal strategy that he has told his own aides to pursue. And of course, if you talk to the campaign aides who are working on this, some of them obviously do not believe some of these lawsuits will be successful, but they feel basically like they've run out of options at this point. And when the president feels like he's back into a corner, often throughout the decades of his life before he was even in office, his go-to strategy has been to sue or to file lawsuits or to try to mount some kind of legal challenge to stop what is happening from happening.
Thank you, Caitlin Collins. That's exactly what I thought was going on. The idea that he's waging these frivolous
shut up,
lawsuits
man.
He's telling them to do it. Anyway, Caitlin, thank you so much. Let's go to Arlette Saenz, who's with the Biden team in Wilmington, Delaware.
I hate all the suggestive hosts on CNN and Fox News.
A narrowing race.
They just try to speculate and be suggestive about shit all the fucking time. I hate it. It's clear manipulation. You don't have the data, you don't have the facts, so you just speculate. And you, of course, speculate about how the other side is doing bad shit. Of course. It's the same on both of these networks.
In that state, the Biden campaign acknowledges that the margin could tighten in a county like Maricopa County, but they don't expect that his current standing will be overcome, even as the Trump campaign has pushed that narrative over the course of the day. Now, Arizona and Nevada, another state the Biden campaign is looking to hold on to. Those are states that Joe Biden only visited once as the Democratic nominee, which is quite the contrast to the time and resources he's devoted to those blue walls he was trying to reclaim this time around. Now, the Biden campaign started the day projecting confidence about that blue wall in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and at this point, they have had 2 of those 3 states called in their favor. Now, heading and looking forward to Pennsylvania, the Biden campaign says they still remain confident as those votes continue to be counted, and say that they will remain vigilant about ensuring that every last vote is counted in that state.
Yeah.
All right, Arlette Saenz,
We
thank you
clearly
so
see
much.
one
We'll
candidate
get to Delaware.
freaking the fuck out, and the other one
I do
pretty alright right now.
expect Arizona to narrow. I mean, I do think that margin of victory, which is
It started to.
What is
Yeah,
it?
and now it's like a little more than, right there you go, 50.7 to 47.9.
Yeah, and
little
the
narrow.
Biden campaign, they also expect it to narrow, but they believe that he will win. So yeah, it's not gonna be a blowout in Arizona, but the question is, can President Trump make it out with the votes that are outstanding?
I like this. I like this woman. She's so like compared to the guy, so much more level-headed. So much, um, I guess, not as partisan. At least trying to seem more objective than that guy. I'm just getting sick of this political climate the way it is.